Okay. I figure my music out. Go with my new playlist. It's fun. Alright, back to what I was doing. Alright. This hand needs to piss off. Goodbye, hand. Because I can't forget. Dun 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 dun. I love when I draw. Like when I'm focused on drawing something, I'll draw. Look how tiny his hand looks. Small hand. Small hand for the 6'10" man. That's what I'll do. And the pain gonna on my bones is blue. Oh, that looks a lot better though. Like, compare. Like, that looks way better. Remember for the Lord. Oh, my forehead's bleeding. Whoopsie. Yeah, I'll live. I need to stop fucking with this when I needed to. Yeah, see, that was what I was struggling with. It's like I was looking at, and I realized this is one of the things I was talking with my sister before stream. Is when I took my reference photo and stuff like that, it was more of like looking down because that's how I grip my shirt, and so it's like, oh, that's kind of like what I was thinking. But when I got home, I have one of those I have one of those I got one of those posable hand models that were kind of like, there was one that was kind of viral on Twitter for a little bit that had like the claw hands and everything. I ended up finding one for like 70 on Amazon and I bought it. His name is Hansel. But I got home and I posed him to figure it out, and Spud gave me the idea of like, just make him grab your shirt and then pull it away and then you'll have the pose. And I was like, oh yeah. So then I took a picture at the angle I needed it and used that as reference while I was sketching this. Plus it has the knuckles and everything, which I'm very bad at drawing typically, so. Twitch probably doesn't like this song. I like this song. But Twitch probably doesn't like it because the song is entirely just the word fuck it, pretty much. I'll switch to this song. This my love. Ooh. Hot cocoa in the summer? Are you fucking nuts? Is hot! Why would you want something so hot when it's already hot? Hot cocoa is a fall and winter thing when it's cold. I guess if it's cold in your house, I can excuse your heinous behavior. Oh yeah, that looks a lot better. Still a little wonky, but I'm gonna blame the fact that I just fucking suck at drawing hands. I really gotta. I'm trying to be better with them. I can draw them okay in some cases. Like, if you look at my VTuber, like, her hand looks pretty decent holding the iPad. It's just other times the hand poses are just weird. But that's why I bought a hand model to try to make my life a little bit easier. I try to for the past couple years I've been actively avoiding poses where the hands hide. I have been actively trying to make myself draw them. Even if they look bad, I still make an attempt. But I still like that better than how I had it, so. And now I have to draw the weird text on his shirt. I'm sorry, I can't I can't fly the freak flag like you with hands. But I'm gonna try. I make no promises for the year, but I'm gonna be trying to do more study stuff. Like, I want to get better. Joey! Joey! Go from one house with an animal crying to another house with an animal crying. But at least this animal, if he cries, I actually have an idea of what the fuck he wants. Chi, go live! Oh, missing your wife. That makes me think, there was a candy bracelet that I saw, and I sent myself a screenshot of it. I gotta find where I put it. Or was it on my iPad that I took the screenshot? I gotta find where it is. Alright, I think it's on my iPad. Hold on. Hold on. Let me find it. But I took a screenshot of this like bracelet in particular because of GoGo. There it is. But I was watching a compilation and I saw this. I saw this one. And it made me specifically think of GoGo. So I took a screenshot so I could remember it. So that I can make you one. I mean, I went out and bought beads specifically so I can make you a couple of GoGo. Why don't you miss your husband? Hey Mouse, welcome back. But yeah, I saw this one a bit ago, and I was just like, I have to take a screenshot of this one and make this for GoGo at some point. This is about your wife. So, for a fun fact, the shirt that I'm drawing right now that says this is my human costume is based on an actual shirt I saw on Amazon. I legitimately saw a shirt that says this is my human costume. I'm actually a shrimp. There is a real life t-shirt that says that. So I had actually drawn his updated look. I had actually drawn it with the this is my human costume, I'm really a shrimp. So I have drawn him in this specifically before, and I was just like, I have to draw it for this as well. But this one won't say because I'm really a shrimp, it just says this is my human costume. Because TLC, technically, they don't know he's the shrimp joke isn't in TLC. The shrimp joke is in the rewrite that I'm doing. I do want to make the fucking halftones get so trippy when you zoom in and out. But I do want to make this a real shirt at some point in the future. Like, I need, personally, to have a shirt that says this is my human costume. I'm really... Oh yeah! You didn't know that? Yeah, I'm doing a rewrite of it. I've actually already gotten a good portion of it rewritten. Yeah. Yeah, TLC is over 500,000 words, 109 chapters, and ongoing. I'm just a little bit insane. But I'm doing a rewrite that takes the fandom out of it and makes it original so that if I wanted to, use all of this fucking writing that I've done as an actual book, I can. Which is where the shrimp actually comes from in the first place. So, hold on, I gotta turn my music down, it's a little loud. Sorry, my fucking Viking music is very loud. Yeah, essentially. So, that's where the shrimp originally comes from. So the whole joke about me being a shrimp and everything comes from when I was redesigning Snatcher. So his Leviathan form was a little easier to redraw, was a little easier to change. So, like, the version of Snatcher Rue, his merman form in TLC is different than his one in Sun in the Sea. So, in TLC, he just has, like, glowing eyes, no eyebrows, and he has a doofy smile. But he also has, like, other differences, like, he has, like, a stupid little frill at his waist, and he's an eel. Why? What's he doing? Yeah. Yeah. Yeah, I'm normally pretty baby talky with the kitty. Did he find a hair tie? Why? As soon as you said that you TLC is still ongoing. As soon as you said that you heard someone playing with the cat, my first thought was the cat found a hair tie. Yeah. I like it specifically purple. He's a cat after his mom's soul. Gotcha. Yeah. He's a fucking freak. He is chunky. It would be my son. Bonnie used to fucking adore hair ties too. That's why. See, that's why as soon as you said that you heard the cat playing, I was just like, oh, it had to be a hair tie because I thought of Bonnie. Oh no, you're totally valid. Like, it makes sense. Yeah, my son's a little bit of a menace. He's a little weird. Mom also wasn't home. He is fat. He is, but we love him. Love you. So, okay, so let me explain that properly. TLC is ongoing, but its ending is planned. See, the thing with TLC was it's my first full public fic that I started on AO3. I've posted like little things like here and there, flash fictions on like a DeviantArt years ago, but that was mostly I would only post writings for like RP groups. I wouldn't ever really post my fanfics because I had a really bad experience when younger that kind of made me afraid to share my writing. Um, I had a couple of issues in the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles fandom that left me not really wanting to share my fan fiction, and I also am, well, not really active in it, but I'm a big fan of Yu Yu Hakusho, and I'm a fan and ex canon type shipper. So like I have OCs that I'll ship with main characters and stuff like that. And I was terrified to ever share anything to do with my Yu Yu Hakusho stuff because I could see how violent the yaoi fangirls would get over their yaoi pairing. Specifically, if you know Yu Yu Hakusho, I am the biggest fucking slut for Kurama. That boy can be of all fandoms yeah, TMNT. So Kurama is my main man, my squeeze, and you can blame him for how fucking insane I am. Yeah, I'm at the point in my life now where it's like fuck off if you don't want to deal with it. Oh yeah. So specifically Kurama was my favorite, and if you know anything about the Yu Yu Hakusho space, you know how violent the Hiei Kurama shippers can get. So can you imagine a little baby 14-year-old bun wanting to ship their girl character with Kurama? Um, so I just never posted anything with her. And her fanfiction lies locked in a composition notebook that I think was thrown out at some point during one of my moves. Um, and as for the TMNT drama, I used to be on a forum for TMNT, and specifically the character that I ship with is, actually, I want to say, can you guys guess which canon character I have a fan and ship with of TMNT? I want to see if you guys can guess who I would ship with. Um, I'm not going to tell you if it's a villain or hero. I want you to just take a guess if you know. I can say it's not Splinter. Though at my current ripe age, I could be arsed to come up with. Nope, it's not Shredder, it's not Splinter. Think younger. You have to remember, I came up with the character back when I was like 14. This was before I was in my MILF and DILF loving era. Actually, you know what would be a better idea to show the differences? Well, if you know the rat and the turtles, then you're close. I was not a teenager in the 90s. I'm not that old. It's Donatello. I shipped with the purple one. I'm surprised you guys didn't get it was the purple one. It's the purple one. It's the purple nerd. Yeah, they're color coded. Yeah, so I used to ship with Donatello, who is a main character. And you would not believe how catty people can get over it. More so because, like, I was a wee baby and it was, like, my first foray into fandom next to Marvel. We don't talk about my Marvel OC. We don't talk about my OG Marvel OC. She has gone through some changes in the years. But basically, I had some people that were like not the nicest when it came to like offering a critique on a character design or anything or like ships. So it just made me very uncomfortable. And I ended up just not sharing anything that had to do with that kind of stuff. Like I still make fandom OCs and everything like that, but I rarely would like kind of show them off. Like you have to understand, I have a full Soul Eater like fan world planned out with multiple ships and pairings, and I even guessed a fucking factoid about Soul Eater before it was revealed in Fire Force, and I am still so fucking happy with myself about that one. There was some other stuff I was wrong about, but I was right that Shinigami-sama had a human form. I am so pumped that I guessed that correctly. Because there's no way both his sons fucking look human, and he's that. But I was also, this is the other fandom I was in at the time, and it can kind of give you an idea of why I stopped shipping publicly. I was a Kingdom Hearts girly. And do you want to know who my Organization 13 pairing was? Remember, I'm a fan and ex-canon shipper. So can you guess which character within the Organization 13 I would ship with that the Yaoi fangirls would tear me apart if I ever posted my character Emix? So... Alright, so if you don't... What a good ship, Chi. I have an autograph somewhere from Axel's English voice actor that he signed of my artwork. Nope, it wasn't Riku. It's from the Organization 13. So, you know I like werewolves, right? Did you know there's a member of the Organization 13 with a wolf motif? Syx has a wolf motif. So I had a character paired to him. He's the blue-haired one that everyone likes to pair with, Xemnas, aka Mansex. Syx. He's the blue-haired one with the big X on his face. And I believe he also has gold eyes. I actually had a couple different fandom OCs for that one, but the other one was paired in a fandom shipping, so it was fandom x fandom. So I would post her a little bit more frequently. She has been since retconned into a personal OC because I still love her, and she's a fucking bitch. God, me trying to draw the difference of my snatchers. Well, not even just Snatcher, just Rue and how he's changed over the years. He was in 2. I have played all through 1. I've played through 2. I've played through most of the there's a DS game one, Memory. The one was Xion, which is Xion, who there was a lot of fandom stuff involving her too, and it's complicated. Kingdom Hearts is complicated. I'm not explaining Kingdom Hearts lore. It's been so long since I did anything with it, so like... But the thing is just like... I happen to have just been in fandoms that were really bad if you wanted to ship anything remotely female presenting with any of their yaoi boys. And this is like... I'm not saying you can't have your yaoi ships. I have my own. I have plenty of them. But, like, people would get so toxic about it. And it really scared me when I was younger. They do. They really do. And just when that was what I was exposed to on forums and stuff as a kid, I was just, like, not having it. God, me having to remember my own OC's fucking design. But you can see where Shrimp's design herself comes from, because hers is based more on Rue's redesign that I did for the rewrite. Like, her tail fin and everything is all pulled directly off of him. Like, people ask me, is Eclipse a self-insert? And I'm like, no, I'm much more of the pathetic meow meow man. If I had to pick one of them to be a self-insert, it's the bougie prince boy that I am much more akin to, but that's just the trauma, and I make him pathetic. Well, see, that's kind of more or less how I am nowadays. It's like, all right, if you wanna, you don't have to read my ship. That's why it's like, I laugh at things like the fact that I got blocked by someone for my case in point. I got blocked by someone because I shipped Snatcher and Eclipse. But it's like some of my best friends ever also ship with Snatcher, and we all love supporting each other's ships with the man. We all just like this character, and it's like, it's so... Hat in Time has been so refreshing in that aspect for me, and it's what got me to post more. But it is quite literally just like, that is something that people like are bad about. All right, so I know, like, I've been kind of quiet while I was drawing because it's just easier to explain with illustrated versions. But so for the rewrite, I did redesign Snatcher's merman form a little bit just to make things a little more cohesive for myself. So you can see, like, in his TLC version of his merman form, he's got a little bit of a stouter tail. It's eel-like. He has no fin. The only fin he has is the one on his waist, and he has a back fin that sticks up, and his back fin for TLC Snatcher, it just kind of goes like this. There's no, like, spikes or anything on it, and I don't particularly care for that design aspect anymore. I like having the spiky bits in it, which you can see on his newer design now has the spikes on his back. Another difference is the OG version of Snatcher's Leviathan form had these little, like, weird frilly bits on his arms to represent where in the game Vanessa had, like, held him up with, like, chains and chained him to a wall. So I had given him this, like, scarring on his upper arms, and I translated it into these weird furry cuff fin things, kind of like the brachia spines on a sea slug, like a sea bunny. So the little cut and poof tail that they have, it's actually their gills, so it's brachia. And he only had 2 gill slits on his stomach, the ones on his chest and stuff. And he had the bottom fin. His hair is much shorter, and he had a much more simplified, like, his face and everything like that. He also only had 3 fingers plus a thumb. Like, overall, it's not a super complex design. I like it. Like, I still love his design. I think he's fun. But the problem is he reads still too much. Like, if you looked at him and if you know his base content, you would be like, oh yeah, it's totally Snatcher. Where his new version, he now has longer hair to... See, one of the issues I had too is the fact that his hair remains short for 500 years in the ocean. So his new form has much longer hair. He's got choppier bangs and stuff like that because he, like, cuts it off himself with, like, fragments in the ocean. Instead of having the weird frilly things on his upper arms, he now just has scarring from where he was gripped by ropes. He has a giant chest scar, which is lore relevant. And he has more striping, so instead of just having the 2 stripes on his chest, he now has yellow stripes that go all the way down his tail. And he now has a tail fin as well, because it's just fun. He also has a full 5 fingers in this form. He still has no nose. I like that aspect of merman and merfolk. Like, I think it's fun. I think it's silly. But instead of his eyes being solid yellow, with the occasionally being able to see the iris underneath, he now has black sclera eyes with, you can just see his yellow eyes. And instead of having flesh-covered fangs, because yes, that is a legitimate thing in TLC, that his skin covers his outer fangs, he now just has longer fangs that peek out of his mouth, and he has multiple rows of teeth, longer pointed ears, and he has eyebrows in his merman form now. And he also has his stubble, because he's a fucking ocean hobo. So, yeah, that's the difference between the TLC version of him and then the Leviathan form. He's also technically larger in his Leviathan form in the rewrite, he is technically bigger. So if I was to size appropriately, he's 30 feet? Yeah, so he'd probably be like, I wanted him to read much more. Yes, actually, it's not even a def probably come up. It's been mentioned in the past. It's in one of the early chapters. It's mentioned pretty early on. Rue says he doesn't like Hattie playing near his hair because things have gotten caught in it and died. He has straight up said that. That's an actual thing that's been addressed very early on in the storyline, is that his hair is very tangly and everything. So he doesn't want anything swimming near it if he can help it, because they'll get caught in it. More so with his longer hair in his new form. But yeah, so his old Leviathan form was a lot smaller. I think even this is actually still technically... Yeah. I want to say, like, if I was to, like... I want to say this would probably be the size comparison if you compared, like, old Snatcher's merman size to his new merman size. Also, can I say that the cord is working splendidly? The one that I got to let me charge my iPad while streaming? It is working. My iPad has gone up at least 10% since I started streaming. And I'm streaming while charging my iPad! This is so exciting. Anyhow. But you can see, like, there's a lot of visual differences. Like, you can still tell this is, like, this, if you look, you would be able to tell that it is the same character, essentially, at their core. But I feel like his new design is different enough that if you weren't aware that this was originally a fan fiction for a time-traveling platformer game, it's all good. See, that's kind of the other reason I'm kind of going the 50 Shades route with, like, rewriting it, is I have already my fanfiction is already so far removed from the original canon of the story. It really just shares some names and stuff like that and occasional plot points that are easy enough for me to just swap out and just make it its own complete thing. And it's become a much larger part of my lore, including it actually has 2 sister series to go with it. Because you have Fae Rules, which needs to get a name update, and Shades Witch, which both take place in conjunction with Sea of Star, with the Sun of the Sun in the Sea, which is the new name for it, is called the Sun in the Sea because it relates to Sunny Boy here. So yeah, I've put a lot of work into the rewrite, and there's been some, like, redesigns of certain things, like demon forms and everything like that have been swapped up. There's been name changes to a couple of things. Just because the thing with TLC is I admit that I kind of try to shoehorn references to the game in, and it doesn't always lead to the best narrative sense, and it feels clunky, and you can kind of tell I'm just kind of putting it there for the sake of having it. So I'm trying to just, make it more, it's like cohesive and everything. And it allows me to fix some plot holes and stuff that happened early on. Like, no one else is really gonna pay attention to this shit. but I am. I mean, the sin in the sea is just the man with two dicks. Oh yeah, that's also a difference that's between the two of them. In this one, he had no dick. Got two of them. Um, Shark. I mean, technically, I think I have it written that he technically has two as well, but his are located near the end of his tail, whereas he has a hidden slit more appropriately placed. Um, but yeah, it's just there's a lot of like this is a personal thing, so it's like when I originally started writing TLC, I only intend. It always sounds so bad when I go to say this. When I started writing TLC, it was never intended to go. It was supposed to only be like a 20 chapter story. It was supposed to only be about a 20 chapter story, and then there wasn't even this is going to sound so funny because it's like it pretty much is just a romance now, but in the original version of Sun and the Sea, not Sun and the Sea, in the original version of TLC, there was no romance. Like, it was not intended as a romance at all. Like, Eclipse and Snatcher were not going to end up together. They were just going to be like co-parents in a sense. Like they were just going to be like friendly and everything like that. The romance came later. Like I had ideas to make them fall in love, but it wasn't going to be as drawn out and like kishy as it is. It was going to be a "oh, you saved my life" kind of thing. Um but we all see how that turned out, and I am now 109 chapters into a 20 chapter fic that has been going on for 4 years. So hi, that's how I've lost control of my life. And can you imagine if I was normal? So yeah, that's a little bit lore on TLC. So the rewrite, I actually worked on it for National November Writing Month. I'm sorry, I monologue. It's what I do. NaNoWriMo. Let me in. Alright, fine. Yeah, I have a literal cork board and everything. Well, so, I'm trying to log into my NaNoWriMo account right now so I can tell you guys how fucking feral I am. I gotta just let me reset my password real fast. Nya, ichi, ni, san, nya, anime. Yes, I agree. Let me in. NaNoWriMo, you should know my birthday. Alright, now let me look at my page. So, last year for NaNoWriMo, one of the series that I wrote for, so, like I mentioned, is The Sun and the Sea, which is the rewrite for TLC. It's only one of like 3 consecutive things I'm working on in the same universe. And one of them is called Fae Rules. And Fae Rules technically has 3 parts to it. It has the original story, which is an isekai that ends on a tragic note. And then you have a secondary story that you don't realize is connected to Fae Rules at first, called The Sea of Stars. And Sea of Stars is what I wrote last year for our National November Writing Month. And within 1 month, I wrote 1,875 words for just that one story. So projects. And then for Camp NaNoWriMo of April 2022, I wrote almost 25k for Shades Witch, which is the 3rd story in the trifecta of the idiots falling in love. And then Sun and the Sea I wrote in National November Writing Month of 2021. And that one I had written 54k roughly in that month. And I've written even more since because I'm working on it alongside working on TLC. So the thing with the rewrite too is I'm able to go and fix some of the issues in the earlier writing of TLC. Because some of the issues in the earlier writing of TLC is there's some inconsistencies, and there's also just some issues involving, like, I wish that I had written this different because I think it would flow better. Like, it wasn't written with the intention to go as long as it ended up going. Like, there were a lot of, like, plot points, like I mentioned earlier, that I kind of just threw in so I could throw them in without, like, really putting much of a thought into, like, how it, like, all correlated, because it's like I was writing it just as I felt like I was writing it. Like, I would have an idea and I would write it and I would post it without much, like, thought into it. So there was a lot of just, like, just going ham. And there's nothing wrong with that. Like, I do write fics like that still, but the problem is when you have such a long going fic as well, it can crop up some issues, more so considering, like, this was the first fic I had posted publicly. Like, it was my first AO3 fic. And it is by far my largest fic, and I'm pretty sure it's, like, the biggest thing that people, if they find me, that's what they would know from me, kind of thing. So it's like, yeah, there's some people who know me for other things, like, obviously, like, Chi, Go-Go, Gan, and stuff. Like, you guys we met on DeviantArt through, like, RP groups and stuff like that, which is a little different. But it's just, like, if I had to pick the thing that, like, if I had to guess where most of my audience came from, it would probably be that. And then, like, on YouTube, I know a good majority of my audience there actually comes from my crafting videos. Because people really like my beading videos for some reason. I have found a weird niche there. Not really sure how that happened, but that did. But I have done a lot of writing. My Google Docs is fucking jam-packed, and that's just my Google Docs. I also have, like, notebooks I've handwritten in, and I have so many different stories, and I have uncompleted stuff that no one's ever seen. I have stories that I have started that haven't been finished. Like, I have gone feral. Um, but at the same time, it's like nothing's completed, so I really am not happy with myself over that one. Like, I did find my first ever novella, though. Yeah, I did draw Snatcher as Octodad. It makes me wonder how many like of my shit posts are known out there in a fandom space. And it's just like if they I did. So a novella is slightly shorter than a novel. I believe it's 1500 words novella length. But I wrote a novella between 17,000 and 40,000. So, oh, you're fine. Um, so I actually wrote a novella in high school. It was part of an assignment, but I did write a novella in high school, and I did actually post the first draft of it all on my old DeviantArt. It is currently in storage, but I can still access my own storage. So I actually was looking through my DeviantArt for something else the other day, and I found the first chapter. Not just the first chapter. I found the first draft of my original novella. Um, and it's a storyline that is completely unrelated to any of my overarching world lore or anything like that. This was like my first novella, and it's a completed story and everything. You could sorry, I'm remembering that like last stream I think I was talking about the fact of how like I was very much that edgy scene kid that you like hear about in rumors that wore cosplay to school and like shopped at Hot Topic and like looked like that and just like, oh my god, so random, LOL waffles, and like how I was legitimately that child in high school and everything. Um so this will further cement that image of me in people's heads, but the title, all the chapter names of my first novella, they're Evanescence song names. They are all from the Bring Me to Life album. All the titles are named after the songs on that album. Cause that was my fucking jam. If you guys want, I opened up the drafts. Would you like to hear 18-year-old Buns writing? Because I will full-heartedly read you my shame. At least one of the chapters. They're not long chapters. This was before I started being really verbose with my writing. The reason I dug these all out, though, is I had the idea to potentially rewrite them from the ground up. You guys wanna hear it? You guys wanna hear it? Alright, let me pause my music, because that's got lyrics and stuff. Oh boy. Where is Hello? Oh, Entombment. Were you the first chapter, or was Hello the first chapter? Going Under, Fool, Immortal, Haunted, Tourniquet, Imaginary, Last Breath, Hello. Hello was the last chapter, okay. Refresh that page. Come on, load. Everyone needs to hear my cringe. DeviantArt, don't be a dick. Let me in. Let me in. Let me in. What do you mean I'm not connected to the internet? Yes, I am. You son of a slut. Let me in. Anyway, I can give you the general gist of what the story was about, because I do remember very vividly still what I actually wrote it about. But essentially, the story is written from the form of, it's written by a Grim Reaper, and at the end of the story, you end up figuring out that he is the younger sibling of the woman that's in the storyline. I'm going to kill you, Net. Fine, close that out. Why are you being so nasty to me? Why do you hate me? Let me in. Let me in. I'm gonna beat you in the face. Oh my god. I love the fact I can see Mr. Top 10 List has sent a comment because I can see it on my overlay, but I can't see it in my chat room that I have pulled up. Oh, the formatting sucks ass. Ugh. Oh. You can just think of the fucking noise that pufferfish. Anyway. I don't know if I'm properly connected or if my net's being dumb. It says everything's connected, so it should be good. Can y'all hear me? Testing. 1, 2, 1, 2. And I left you alone in a house, not a home. And I watched the burning smoke fill the lungs. We're having trouble finding that site. No, you're not. Let me in. And I left you alone. You've been streaming offline. Okay. Well, my chat's being dumb, so it wasn't showing me that you guys were talking. So, yeah. Alright. I will go. The graveyard was silent in the chill December air. A light dusting of snow covered the gray stone tablets and small crypts that laid in wait. Calm filled the night as a lone figure made way to the smallest tomb hidden in the back. Gentle fingers lightly brushed across the nameplate to brush the crystals off in a futile attempt to read the name scrawled so many years ago. Letting go of a long, held-in sigh, the figure sat on the edge of the crypt and opened an ancient book. With great disdain, the figure began to flicker through the yellowed pages, scanning for whoever was inside the vault. The durably fragile hands of the form reached upwards, throwing back the black hood that had been concealing their face, and consequently impairing their vision. He couldn't have been over 19 with the look on his face. Raven feather locks framed the pale face with deep sunken eyes as he began to bite his lip in concentration. He seemed agitated as he worked his way through the ancient tome. Gray eyes darted around as they deciphered the text written. Eventually, he grew tired of searching and closed the book, laying down, using a pellet. Eventually, he grew tired of searching and closed the book, laying back, using it as a pillow. Staring at the sky, he closed his eyes and let the snowflakes land on cold skin. Bolting upright, he grabbed the book and pointed towards the empty air, as if motioning someone. He gestured at the empty space frantically to sit beside him. To him, someone was there. To the world, it was air. He stared at the space beside him and brushed the snow off of it, which was annoying to him, for it never did melt when it contacted his skin. No matter that small pet peeve, winter was still his favorite season. Distracted, he looked around the graveyard as the snow danced in the wind and the moon rose above the clouds. A story must be told, he thought, one that is good for most. Selecting a chapter in the yellowed pages, he began reading in the harsh moonlight that filtered down into the yard of the dead souls, gray eyes tearing apart the story the book told. The story of the woman buried behind him in the vault. The story of a woman he met back when he was young. It had been a long time since he had a break to read. He was happy to finally get the chance. So that was the first part of my story that I wrote. You can definitely still tell it's my writing. Like reading through it, you 100% can tell that it is totally my writing still. Have I only been streaming? Yeah, I guess I have only been streaming for an hour. Like, that's the funny bit about it, is it's totally, like, you can tell I wrote that. It's me. It's me still. And I left you alone in a house not a home. You guys want another chapter of that nonsense? I can read you another one. I have them all pulled up. They're not long. I could technically probably read the whole novella on stream without issue. But only if you got. Yeah, despite everything, it's still, yeah, it's very much like, you can definitely just, like, you can hear how I like to describe things. Because I still fucking do it. I just add more words in there. Like, one of the biggest things that annoys me about my earlier writing is I didn't use a lot of variety in some of my words. Sorry, it was the song that I paused, so the lyrics are stuck in my head. The song is called Brother, by Mads Buckley. And it has been stuck in my fucking head for like the past 3 days. That's why I keep singing the words. Alright. There is an ad that is going to force me to play it, so I'm gonna run the ad first, and I'm gonna continue drawing for a little bit, but once the ad has run, I will read the next bit. I'm gonna start the song over because I like it. Brother, you alone in a house, not a home, and I watch the burning smoke, like bed filled with light. Ashes whisper, so well. Watch the fire fall, and all my smoke fills the lungs like a disease. There we go. Finally got the line art done for that. Alright, now that the ad is gone, I will read the next part. This one is called Going Under. As I said, they're all Evanescence song titles. She was a pretty thing, pale and soft, a cream-colored rose. He had found her during a trip to the countryside 2 summers past. She had been waiting for someone, but he couldn't let her wait any more, and whisked her away to his city home. There he hid her away from the sun. He had captioned the Maiden of the Moon, a beautiful piece of art that was never to be viewed for fear of ruin. At night he would visit her under the moonlight and caress her soft skin and claim her as his own. a trophy. To her, he was her husband, her prince, her everything. For him she would do anything, scale a mountain, or hide away in the innermost rooms, her only companion being her lovely little daughter. She spent her days waiting in the windowless room, combing through the child's hair and dressing her in fine clothing of hues of red. Her child was very behaved, always quiet, and never misbehaved. She loved her daughter, she loved her husband. But it was a shame. He wasn't her husband, she wasn't his wife. His wife was a fine older woman he had been married to for years. She didn't know of his flower, his sweet cream-colored rose. Each night he would be king for the night. Each night he was free from the hag he was bound to by law. In the dark she awaited him. In the dark she was about who she was to him. There she sat with her daughter alone, waiting for him. Waiting for a liar and a cheat, a thief and a master. She awaited him she called a prince, a husband. Waiting, she was cared for by a single little servant, a boy who would tell her stories of the world outside, a friend to speak to her in her lonely days, an unnamed servant who brought her meals and helped her bathe, someone who helped to take care of her daughter when she was asleep or with the master, the husband. 3 worlds exist in one home. The married couple, the courtesan, the delusion. The choice was up to the world to decide which was real. Welcome back from capitalism. Yeah, I should actually, I forgot to mention, I probably should give a light trigger warning for this story, because it's not a happy story. My first ever novella is pretty fucking tragic and dark, but that's because it was part of the assignment I was doing in high school, and I was a fucking edgy ass teenager. But I won't spoil, but from this chapter alone you might understand there's a abuse trigger warning, as well as some other unsavory things, like, a man doing things that he should, a PDF, prepping things, brushing them. It never goes into detail, obviously, because I was a high schooler and I did submit this to my teacher, but it's heavily implied, so I guess it's like, yeah, yeah, yeah. It's all implicit. It's like, it's kind of a, read it and put the thoughts together yourself type of thing, because, again, it was a school assignment. I was like 17, 18 when I wrote this. Actually, when was this posted? 2011. I was like 17. I was like 17, 18. So, like, this writing is 13 years old. Let me clarify that. It's been a good clip. God, my writing hasn't improved that much, actually. Reading back, this makes me cringe. But I'll read the next part. So the next one is called Fool. Fool, that's what the boy called the young woman he had to serve day in and day out. She was the pet to the house. To him she was a pain. Nothing but something placed for looks, hidden away, a precious treasure to the master. He didn't like her. She made him take care of a doll. She forced him to speak with her. Didn't she know he hated to speak? She was crazy, completely mad. The only reason he put up with her because he had to. She was always happy when he came in, when he put on his mask and told her stories full of lies. He spun forth tales of great war heroes, but in the light they were nothing but dead corpses. He sprang forth with stories of forests with bears attacking men, with wolves becoming men, but they were just stories, no truth at all. She believed every word he spoke. Each day she was more enticed. Each day he grew more disgusted. One day, when preparing to go to her, the master stopped him. He was not to visit the girl in the locked room until further notice. Even though he hated her, no, despised her, he was still shocked when he was told this. What would become of her? Would she slowly fade away? Was she killed? No, the last one wasn't true, he knew that one. He always knew when death was around. So why wasn't he allowed to see her? He found out the reason soon enough. The mistress of the manor had passed on. Someone had slipped several berries from the nightshade bush into her fruit, and he was the one blamed. Eyes wide, he was accused of the accursed action, but it wasn't him. It couldn't be him. He only handled the hidden one's food. He could never kill anyone. She waited in her room for him to come with a new story, but he never did come again. So that was the next part. And then the next part is immortal. He was searching each day to save his own life. He trusted no one. He listened to no one. He was no one. But she was there, a flower that calmed him when all seemed lost. She was the only thing to maintain his sanity in the darkest of days. Many a thing proclaimed to get in his way of seeing her. When in the spotlight of the world, he was a proud man, a man who would rule the deeds of others, a powerful man with authority to sentence to death anyone in his court. Right! I wrote this after I was obsessed with Sweetie Todd. That's where the inspo came from. Sorry, I was reading this and I'm like, right! He's a fucking judge! I forgot that was a plot point. I literally only really remember the main premise of the servant boy and the little girl. There's the girl, the doll, the woman, I remembered that. And I remembered the relationship the two of them had where he was just he didn't like her. And then shit happens. I totally forgot that I made the master a fucking corrupted judge, I did that to make him even worse because I had been watching Sweeney Todd at the time, and Judge and the whole Joanna and stuff like that I think was inspiring. He wishes he was Turpin. Without a care, he'd lock away the wrongdoers, but he was nothing more than a hypocrite. He had done the deed. He had stolen a young woman from her home, and each night he made sure she remembered who the master was. After each embrace, his guilt and fear built up. Fear that his wife, the city, the world, would find what he had done. His fear, as with most petty criminals, was the fear of justice always coming in the end. He feared he would be sentenced by his own colleagues for his crimes. Something had to be done. He needed to get rid of those in his way, those who knew of her, and those who may suspect him. An easy way to solve two problems. He had seen enough of the murder trials to put together how they go off, and he had found a way to dispose of his largest roadblock. Late into the night, he slipped into the kitchen chambers, and into his wife's breakfast salad he dropped the nightshade's berries. Sleeping soundly in the corner was the young servant boy who used to take care of his flower. He approached the sleeping boy whose raven hair hid his pale skin, and slapped him awake, demanding he take the breakfast to the mistress. He went without so much as a sound, as was his nature. Breaking a sweat, the master of the house slipped away to the chamber of his waiting flower. Beneath her silken garments laid silken skin that was his. He owned her, he made her, and she was his angel, his flower, his treasure hidden away. After his wife's unfortunate death, he brought his flower out to the world, claiming he met her in the country, not particularly a lie, mind you, and vowed to have her as his wife. Not a soul found the occurrence odd, for he was a man of respect, and as such required a wife alongside him. The marriage was quick and low-key, and the flower was finally in the sun she needed. She was quiet, pretty, and obedient, the picture of a perfect wife. She never raised her voice above a whisper, she only spoke when spoken to, and she held an air of refinement about her. He had done it. He had finally cleared the road to his happiness. The master had all he desired, and no longer feared retribution. Like I said, he is he is not that this story is fucked. I know this story ends badly. Because you have to remember, how did the story start? It started in the graveyard, and this is the story of the woman in the tomb behind the narrator. And so the next one is called Haunted. The sunlight had never hurt so much as it did when her husband brought her before his friends. It caused her unbearable pain, but she tried not to make much as a peep, so as to not trouble her prince. She sat with her eyes shut and her ears open, trying her hardest to be the best wife for her husband. But it hurt her so much until a cold grip around her soothed the pain. She thanked the air, which caused a stern look from her lover. The pattern of pain grew smaller with each outing as she once again became accustomed to the sun. Once again a flower bloomed into a brilliant young woman, the soft color of her golden hair, the softest blue of her eyes like a sky. The master was pleased with himself about his little flower. She behaved properly. She was growing even lovelier by the day. Maybe it was time they tried harder for an heir. They were not going to get any younger now, were they? He took her gently by the hand and led her to the river under the cherry blossoms, and gently asked her about a baby. She didn't want another child. Her daughter was all they needed. Why would they need another child? She expressed her worries to him, and quickly was silenced with a sharp sting across her face. Tears welled in the sky as the storm broke free, and she flew away from him. He began to hound after the young flower in the most inelegant fashion. Barreling across the fields and ditches, he chased her through the city and into the edges of the town's most civilized stations. He chased her tails until he couldn't breathe properly, and a shadow began to loom over him. She had broken free and sat under a tree and pulled her knees to her. She was scared. She was very scared. She didn't mean to run away from him, her husband, and her prince. She had only angered the one who always gave her everything. A soft shadow fell over her, and she looked up into familiar blue eyes. He held a pale hand out to her, and she took it gently, standing up. He didn't say anything, but led her back to the home, took her inside. She turned to thank him, but he had vanished yet again. He stood over the large man and raised a large blade, bringing it down silently. He ended the matter swiftly and quietly. He did his job, and now he hoped that young woman would be all right. Yeah, you wish you got hoes. So the next part is called Tourniquet, and yeah. A pretty thing to be left alone so young, and so freshly wedded. Speculations began to rise about her deceased partner. She was always mourning for him, they thought. The way she always wore the darkest color of sorrow. The way the air about her rang with a scent of departure. A flower wilted into a blackened shell that withdrew itself inside the large manor. Sorrow leached from the home, flooding the streets of the city. Slowly people began leaving as the crimes increased. She wouldn't leave even after everyone had left the large manor she lived in. Alone. She would sing softly and cause echoes in the great hall. She would take care of her daughter gently each day. And she would talk to the air as if he were still there. How was your day at work? Did you find him? She longed to hear someone else's voice in the lonely manor, but alas, she wouldn't. She would walk the large halls that grew larger each day. Slowly withering away, she at last grew so mad she took some toxin from the abandoned pharmacy and went home with it. Crying out in agony, she swallowed the bottle and went to bed for her final days. He came to her as she lay sleeping. He held a hand over her mouth to see if she was still breathing, and gently lifted her body up and carried it outside to the sun, and down the path to the sunflower field. Whispering soft words, he laid her down in the field of flowers. There are 3 more chapters. So this next one is called Imaginary. Where did she go? Little Camelia's mommy. Little Camelia saw her not long ago with Daddy. Where is Mommy? Where did the boy go? He was so nice to little Camelia. Little Camelia wants little Camelia's mommy. She left little Camelia here. She told little Camelia, "Wait here, my child. I'll be back." So little Camelia is waiting. Little Camelia is waiting for Mommy. It's been so long now. Where did Mommy go? Little Camelia is lonely. Little Camelia wants to play some more. But where is Mommy? Little Camelia misses her so much. Little Camelia misses the boy as well. He told big stories to little Camelia. Where did Mommy go? They leave little Camelia alone now. Many, many people walk by little Camelia. No one stops to fix little Camelia's dress or comb my hair. Little Camelia was given to a new mommy today. She put little Camelia in a pretty black dress and combed my hair for me. She had tea with little Camelia as well, but she left little Camelia in a tree all alone. It's so cold without a mommy here to warm little Camelia. The sky is even crying for little Camelia. Why is the sky so cold? Little Camelia can't see much any more. Little Camelia is scared now. Little Camelia wants to be loved again. Little Camelia wants to be held. Cold fingers gently wrapped around the doll that was stuck in a tree, alone, in a graveyard. A hidden face slid upon seeing the familiar doll and stroked her face lightly as he made way to the crypt. He pushed open the century-old casket top to see the young woman's skeleton alone in the box and set the doll beside her. Little Camelia met a nice man today. The man put little Camellia with Mommy again. Mommy looks different, but it smells like Mommy. Little Camellia loves her Mommy. Little Camellia loves that man for putting her with her Mommy again. My throat is dry. Because I wasn't fucking chugging liquid all day because the dog's house makes me nervous, so I don't drink as much. Yeah, the doll was filled with so much love she came to life in a sense. Like that is very specifically a twist that I do remember was the little Camellia thing with the doll like looking for her mom, but she can't do anything because she's just a doll. Like she doesn't understand. She has the mindset of a child because that's how she was treated. She was a doll to the woman who was insane. So this next chapter is called Last Breath. That was a horrid town, they would say. They often spoke in hushed tones of the evils that city once held, about a corrupted judge that kidnapped a child and forced her into bed. It was a city where a corrupt woman was married to a vile husband, whom was later murdered by her vile spouse, the poor blame on a young lad. It is said the man married the kidnapped girl after murdering his wife. He later died after suffering a heart attack chasing after something. It's a rather strange city with its stories and its tale. They called this city... Scratching his head, the raven-haired boy tried making out the name of the city, but it was crossed out in his book. Why did he cross it out? He closed the book, sighing. He hated not remembering anything. That's why he kept the stupid book to begin with. He sighed deeply as the book took form of a raven cawing. It sat on his shoulder as he sat up, his black jackets shuffling in the cold October winds. He lightly grabbed the harvesting tool from its perch on the crypt and headed down a path. On his way back, he looked at the graveyard solemnly and vanished. I have hiccups now. And vanished into the darkness of the night. And then the last chapter is called Hello. Hello. Did you enjoy that? The story I just read to you. Could you connect the pieces to this shattered mirror of life? The master? I was pleased to be his killer. The flower? I didn't want to take her soul. She was my sister after all. Me? Oh yes, quite. I'm not sure if you knew me yet. I can only hope you haven't met me before. I'm everywhere. I'm not wanted anywhere. That's a lie. Sometimes people want me to come to them and try to do the deed themselves. I'm not fond of those sorts. They honestly creep me out. I'm a chill down your spine on the warmest of days. I'm the smell of decay when you pass earth mounds. I can take life, but never give it. I escort some upwards, many downwards, and several escape my grasp to try and remain here on this earth. I am the Grim Reaper. I am Death. Once upon a time I was alive myself. I was a son. I was a brother, and I was a servant as well. I so fondly have memories of swaying for a tree for a crime I did not commit, of people to blame me for a murder. It was a horrible judge. You hope a judge would be more courteous to others, but it's not going to happen. When the time came for his soul to be taken to hell, I was delighted. My sister, on the other hand, she was so gentle, so kind. She annoyed me, sure enough, with her daughter of a doll. She didn't even recognize me when I came to work at her master's home. I had followed her, you see. After she'd been kidnapped, I followed my sister to that place, and I pretended to be seeking work. It was my luck that he let me be her caretaker, and my misfortune as well. As I said, I was hung, and after death I became what I am now. Forever remember the four realities: the love, the lie, the distortion, the truth. Sincerely yours, Death. So yeah, that's the first novella I wrote back in high school. It's just a very sad, depressing story about a woman who was kidnapped and then forced to be a mistress. She went insane from being isolated so hard that she thought that a doll was her daughter. Her brother had snuck in to try to help her, but he couldn't do anything. She'd gone crazy. And then eventually everyone fucking dies. The end. Everyone's dead. Quite literally, everyone is dead. So yeah, that was some classic bun writing. Written that's some vintage bun. Actually, what color would her hair be? I have hiccups! No, her hair should be silver, not black. And I left you alone. Let's start my music again. But yeah, very much you can, like, when I think back to it, you can definitely tell I was inspired by Sweeney Todd. But like also you could just very much tell I was an edgy teenager at the time I wrote it. But at the same time, I don't hate it. Like I think of that story all the time. And it's like I keep telling myself like I have been trying to find where those drafts were and I just barely found where they were in my storage on DeviantArt. So I'm very happy to find them again. Unfortunately, the original files have gone missing. I say missing. It's not that they're missing. It's just the computer that they were used to be on is completely toasted and gone. Because like I said, they were written like 13 years ago. I really should draw Rose and her brother and stuff. Like, they've never been drawn. Come on, turn on. It's hot. Little Camellia actually is the only one who roughly has a design. And the only reason Camellia does is because Camellia was... I stole the name from an OC I had in a group at the time. So Cammy was... Camellia is my Bloody Doll OC. And she was part of a circus DeviantArt group, roleplay group at the time. She was a juggler, and she specifically specialized in doing hoop juggling. And her hoops had razor blades on them. So she was a blood-soaked doll. She was originally a white porcelain doll, and she was dyed red by all the blood that she spilled. And I actually still have her as a semi-active OC. Like, she is part of one of my main storylines as a side character. So I have an OC named Mort. I believe I've mentioned Mort in passing on streams and stuff like that before. Mort is one of Kaya's generals for the demon army and everything. So she's the mother of another OC named Demeter, who is a little girl who is very akin to Eclipse. In the way that they were conceived. But Mort is one of the rare necromancers in lore, because necromancy is a very uncommon magic type in my universes. Like, you typically, if you're gonna practice necromancy, you have to already have the aptitude in your, like, magic bloodline and everything like that, and it's a very non-practiced type of skill. And it's actually brought up. There's a chapter that's going to be coming up in TLC, and I think there was a chapter that hinted to it as well, that will talk about the fact that they're missing a lot of operatives because there's a necromancy outbreak up north, thanks to a certain someone, no, not naming names, lich bitch, and it's a very uncommon Like, that's not to say that raising the dead is uncommon. There are other methods of revival, but it's like necromancy as a magic source itself is not necessarily the most common. It is not the stealer of bones. No. Bunny lives in America. TLC takes place in, like, Denmark. Bunny is nowhere near TLC, and besides, Bunny is too young during the time of TLC. Bunny is Hattie's age group. Like, I know that's a little twisted to think about, but Hattie is actually... Bunny and Hattie are the same age. Like, I gotta put that into retrospect. Hattie and Bunny are the same age. So, by the time that Bunny and Steve are together, TLC has been over for several years at that point. And Hattie is in her 20s. I have drawn them on a cover of TLC, but that was mostly just a joke. They're not actually there, more so because Bunny hasn't even met Steve yet, and she's too little. No, because remember, she's only grumpy because she was hit by lightning. Oh my fucking god. Yeah, but there's a canical thing. There's a canical bitch who likes bones and shit in TLC too. We have a lich. There is a lich that is a very much prominent figure when it comes to TLC. And liches revive the dead. Because, see, that's what I mean by necromancers themselves are considered rare. Because necromancers, it's in the lore of TLC and stuff like that, they're specifically humans with the ability to raise the dead. Other species and stuff like that could raise the dead, but normally humans aren't the ones who are doing it. Humans typically just don't have the aptitude to raise the dead. There are several, like there are illegal necromancers too, but it's not as, like, it's just, like, official. Like, it causes a lot of problems when the dead start walking. There is a necromancer. There is a legal necromancer in Bone Stealer. But it's not Bunny. It's actually another character who is part of the Four Horsemen. It's actually, funny enough, Pestilence is a necromancer. Pestilence's family is the only legal necromancing family in North America. She comes from a line that was originally from, I believe her family's from Italy. But they have a mix of, like, a lot of different things. Because her mom is... I'm trying to remember. Is Kyle related to her... Her mom's family is from... Yeah, they're related by their mothers. Well, no, Jacob's a dragon. I have an OC named Jacob. He's a dragon. He is related, but he's a dragon. Anyway, so the one legal necromancy family in America, yeah, there is an actual Jacob. So the character who is a necromancer in that story, if I... This is her. This is my legal necromancer from that story. This is Tax, aka Bridget Holmes. She is the first cousin of the Antichrist, and she is also the horseman of pestilence. She used to be just a normal person, but she was hit by a car. She was in a hit and run. Bridget with a T. Another picture of her. Spud, Domino, Bleep, Freak Show. Well, I can show you Mort. This is Mort. And that's her daughter, Demeter. Where is the other one? Bun Bun, Cold Outside, Meat Grinder, Hot Milk, Evil Like Me, Cold Outside, Cops Won't Believe You. Oh, there it is. But I have this. But Tax is a legal necromancer, and they specifically work with the mafia. Woo! And her family, like, their necromancy specialty is like, they're very much the standard of, like, you would think, like, a zombie film kind of thing, necromancy level. Precisely, that is exactly the joke. And this is where it's funnier. So this is the joke with them. So the Antichrist is a homicide detective. He's literally, his uncle runs a morgue that is a cover-up for body disposal using necromancy. Oh, and the Antichrist is Bunny's ex-boyfriend from college. I guess I should mention that that is also a tie. Like, it's a whole thing. Like, I could go into so much detail about, like, how everything ties together and everything, but no one wants to listen to me ramble about that. So the thing with the whole limbs rehomed story is it's not true. She only says that to get people to leave her the fuck alone. Bunny has not actually removed the limbs of someone. She just says that to get people to leave her the F alone. But she did cut him. She has cut him, and they didn't leave on the best of terms. Like, I do have a scene of, like, he shows up near the end of Bone Stealer looking for Steve because he's on the case of the real Steve Smith's homicide. But the joke is, like, his cousin's a literal zombie and he doesn't notice. But to be fair, the guy's going through some shit at the time himself. Like, his fiance was murdered, he had to move departments, he's dealing with shit. He's also a bit of a cuck. Kyle has a real stick up his ass. I do have a drawing of him somewhere on my iPad. Hold on. Stare at Danger Beans. Saw it not long ago, actually. Heavy. I'm so heavy. Heavy. In your... There they are. Anyway. So this is Kyle and Akari. Akari is the horseman of war. Absolute sweetheart, total upbeat girly. And this is Kyle, our depressed dude who just is trying to get him. He's just trying to do his job. He's trying to do his job, and everyone around him is fucking insane. And in their storyline, it actually introduces a character. So the white-haired woman that you see here, in this story, she's only referred to by Akari as Sensei. But this is Aunt Millie. This is Ambros's twin sister, and this is Eclipse's great aunt. She is the one who runs Helping Hand, which is the company that Redacted works for. So she specializes in helping. They're similar to Prometheus, but they specialize in haunted items and stuff like that. And the reason why Akari is in Sensei's care in the first place is because she has a possessed sword that desires human blood. And Akari is specifically known in storyline as the woman with black scars, because whenever she gets cut up and stuff, it heals over with this black line. It's part of the curse of the sword that she carries. The only normal person here is Casey. I love Casey. So funny fact is this girl here in the green, she originally was Kai. This was originally a Kai. There was a plotline at one point in which Kai became reborn as a human, and Casey was that human that she was reborn as, but eventually I decided to just move that away from that plot, and I still liked Casey as a concept, so I ended up incorporating her as a photographer. And then this is Brandy. My gay-ass werewolf. This is his daughter, Tawny. Yeah, absolutely. He's in a very healthy He's a very healthy co-parenting relationship with Tawny's mother and her mother's mate. They're all werewolves, and you can see Tawny's got her ears and tail and stuff. Blood Pools is a very interesting storyline from ye old baby Babbitt brain. But it still holds a special place in my heart. Obviously, for the fact that I have reworked it into my main lore decades later. I really wish I could find the original pages. They are somewhere in my room. There is one of those, like, you know those, like, file sheets, like those clear plastic things you can clip into a binder, and it will, like, you can put a piece of printer paper into it? There is one of those somewhere in my room, and it has the original pages. Wait. No, do I know where it is? Do I actually know where those pages are? I might actually know where my first ever comic pages are. When I first started doing comics, I might know where my original Possession comic and Blood Pools comics are. Blood Pools never got more than, I think, I only finished like 2, I didn't even finish them, but there's like 2 or so pages that I did of Blood Pools. But Possession, on the other hand, had a full 2 chapters worth of inked pages that I believe I had finished, and I think I know where they are. No, I think I know where they are. I think I know exactly where those pages actually are. I could find. Oh, that could be fun. More baby bun bullshit. I just like looking and showing my old art off to show, like, where I started from and where I am now in terms of my artwork. There's just something satisfying about it. Like, it makes me feel a little better, especially when I'm having bad brain days. To just be like, yeah, I can make, this is what I used to do, and this is what I do now. Well, yeah, I'm not a fucking god at art. That's still relevant. I make so many mistakes. I am not good at art. I don't know what you say. Root, why is your eye fucking doing that? No. No, if I was to tell you someone who's like god at art, I'd direct you to Chi or Aster. Like, their art is so fucking good. I have literally printed off pictures of Chi's art to hang on my wall. Well, I did back in college. I had a lot of pictures printed off on my walls. Like the little nut job that it was. Still am. That's different. That's a meme. There's a difference. One part of confidence makes them okay. It's not just for work, it isn't for play. One for myself, one for me too. One of these days. Gives Rue blue underwear. Oh, I never finished that line. There's a line missing. Not just for work, and it isn't for play. One for himself, one for me too. And one of these days, he'll make a one for you. Rue doesn't buy his own clothing. Eclipse buys all his clothes. Like, the man can't be asked to buy his own clothes. His girlfriend does it. Like, the only reason his clothing is themed in any capacity is because Eclipse is a shithead. Like, that's the reason he has so much, like, Snatcher merch and shit. It's just Eclipse being an absolute goblin to her boyfriend. Remember, she wears the pants in the relationship. Look at these shitheads! Oh yeah, no, they're officially together now. Look at these shitheads. These are shitheads in love. That's what they are. Where's Bruce skin color? God, the freckles on my arms are so intense right now. Yeah. I was looking at my arms earlier and I was just like, Jesus. Because it's like, my arms are the part that gets exposed to the sun the most. Because I typically wear a hat and everything. But I wear tank tops all the time. So it's like, I have a bunch of freckles on my arms. I have a couple on my boobs too, but that's because of how my shirt's cut. But it's like, I was looking at my arms and it's just like, they're absolutely covered. When I was younger, I used to be that telltale, like, freckles across the bridge of the nose. And I'm sure if I stopped wearing a hat all the time, I could get those freckles back. But unfortunately for me, I like to see, and my eyes are so pale that sunlight, extreme sunlight, really hurts my eyes. So I have to wear a hat or I just can't fucking see anything. As much as I don't want to end stream before I finish this, because I can't believe the fact that this fucking drawing has taken me close to 4 hours for this one drawing. I'm not happy with myself of how long this has taken me to do. But I do have to get off soon because I do have to go to work in the morning. I do have to be up in... I have to be up in... Actually, where's my, give me my alarm clock. Get the fuck up. 11... 8.5 hours is when I have to be awake. So, yeah, if I want any semblance of sleep, and I also have to, like, get my bag ready for work tomorrow, because I took shit out of my bag, because I was dog sitting. But that being said, we did get this lined and colored, and I think it's looking better. Like I was saying earlier, it's the trust the process. It's like, I know once I get my colors on there, it's gonna look a lot better. Yeah, I'll do the background real fast. I don't have much to... No, we're not running an ad break right now. Because I'm going to be ending stream, and I'm not going to subject people to that. I have no idea what I'm doing with the background, but this is funny and it's working. Yeah, that'll work. Anyway, thank you guys so much for hanging out with me for part 2 of today's stream. I know it was a little weird, the fact that I split stream in half, but that's because I had to literally drive like 20 plus minutes. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me tonight, and hopefully, weather permitting, I will be streaming Ultra Kill tomorrow night. But yeah, thank you guys for hanging out with me and all my rambles and listening to Teenage Babbitt's cringy rating. Love you lots. Have a good one. Bye!